Hello everybody, and welcome to the another lecture of this HTML masterclass. In the previous lecture we discussed about the anchor tag, we discussed about HR tag and different kind of list tag and table tag. So we discussed the table concept, and we discussed the two main important concept of row span and column span value. And in this lecture, as we promised, we are gonna make a very simple, but at first glance you might find it difficult a little bit. So we are gonna discuss about a project very first. Okay, so think about a scenario. We created this table in the last lecture, and we discussed the row column span value. So think about the scenario when you are given to generate this kind of table structure. Okay, think about what will you do if you are asked to generate such table. In this table, at very top we have a table name, and this is the tag we didn't discuss. It is a caption tag, and we will discuss it in this lecture as well. And then below the table name we have a serial number column, then we have a item name column, and then we have a price column. Okay, so at very first row we have 3 column, then we move to the next row, and here we also have 3 columns, and then the next row and next row, and here at the last we have only 2 column. One of column is grand total, and one of column is for $200 price written here. Okay, so first for the students I am gonna say that you should create your own table structure. You should give it a try, and then I will show you the code how I written it or how you can create it. Okay, so this is the best practice. First you have to follow this particular structure, and first you have to create it on your own, and then try to get the help with my own explanation. Okay, and anyone watching it online or as a recorded video, it is the suggestion that you should pause the video, give it a try, and then come back and see the solutions I have written. Okay, so now moving toward the solutions. We are gonna make it. So let me just change the tab name. Let me change it, and after that we will delete all the content from the body. Okay, now this page is actually now empty, and the tab name is practice table. Here I have opened this particular file in this tab, so we can look the reference and we can get the structure help from here. Okay, now if we are gonna make such kind of table structure, that means what we discussed, there is a container tag to create a table which is named as table. So at very first we are going to create a table container. Okay, so this tag creates a table container, and if I save it, then actually it is not gonna do anything on the page because I still didn't pass anything in that table container. Okay, so if you want to create the row and column, you have to pass tr, td or th. Okay, but if you want to write the name of the table at the top of the table, so for this concept you have to create a caption tag. Okay, this is the best practice. You can also use h1 or p tag or any other tag to create the content, create the table name, but it will generate extra margin. It will give extra margin from the table and between the table and content, and this is not very good. Okay. It is a better convention. If you want to give a particular table a particular name, then you should use the caption tag and you should write the content inside that caption tag to give a table name. So here in this case I have written demo table. You can choose any name you want, or in our case, if I'm gonna make an invoice, then I name it as invoice. Okay, so I generated a table tag, and inside that tag I have written caption, and if the page reloads, you can see there's a name caption. Okay, so once this caption is created, once this table name is created, now we can move further and we can create this serial number, item name and price. I mean, we can create this row and column. What is the best practice to create a table? So if you generally look at this particular table structure, you will find there is a few messy row, few messy columns, and you feel kind of bit confusing. Okay, so when you are going to create a table, it is your first responsibility. In my opinion, you should not just trapped into the table structure at very first glance. Okay, what you should notice, you should notice the maximum row and maximum column from that table, and once we have created the maximum row and maximum column, we will be able to pass the row span and col span value to the empty columns, and we will deal with all the things. So what is the maximum column value to this table? Here is 1 column, 2 column and 3 column in this row, and in every row the 3 is the maximum column number. If you are talking about the last row, here is only 2 columns, so the maximum column number is only 3 for this row, for this table the maximum column number is 3. So that means our every row is gonna contain 3 td or th elements. Okay, next you should take a look about the maximum number of row, the same way you discussed about the maximum number of column. So if you are talking about this particular column, here is 1 row, 2 row, 3 row, 4 row and 5th row. Okay, now if you are talking about this, here is only 1, 2 and 3 rows, but you are actually not gonna do this because you need maximum, as we discussed. So I need maximum column and maximum row. So the maximum number of column is 3 and the maximum number of row is 5. So I am gonna create the 3 by 5 table structure. Okay, so to create the 5 row, I am gonna say 5 times tr. You can create tr 5 times, or you can write tr in the VS Code and the asterisk symbol and write the number of amount you want to create this particular tag, and you can now hit enter. It will create the row 5 times. Okay, so if this is created, so in the very first row I am gonna create the content. This is the header, and if it is a header, then why it is bold? Because it is written inside the th tag. Okay, so I am gonna write 3, I am gonna create 3 th, and inside that I am gonna write sn, item name and price. Okay, so same way I can write th asterisk 3 and enter, and it will create 3 th, and the first one is sn and the second one is item name and the third one is actually price. Okay, so my first table header is created. Let me save it and let me go to my practice table section. Here you can see the invoice is written at the very center of the table, and also below that invoice, below that table name, you have your header. Okay, why it is not creating the border like this? Because we didn't pass the border value into the table container tag. So we can pass border and we can give it a value in the pixel for the border. Now it is creating the border as well. Okay, what next? Then here we, in the next row, we have only 3 columns. In the one column we have 1, and then we have cheese, then we have chocolate, and we have $50. Okay, so now you can you are not able to think at very first that this cheese and chocolate belongs to which row, because it is spanning for all the 3 rows from 1 to 3. Okay, so you are not it is bit confusable, but you have to notice one point. If this is the scenario, you will write these things into the very first row, and after that you will leave the content as empty. So the cheese and chocolate value will go into the row number 2, which is 1 cheese, chocolate, and $50. And after that, from the row number 3 and onwards, you are not gonna mention this cheese, chocolate, or these values for, or you are not gonna create anything for this. Okay, so I am here at row number 3. Now at very first we have in the very first cell of this row we have 1, so we are gonna create a td tag and we are gonna pass 1. Okay, and then we have cheese and we have chocolate and we have $50, so we have to create 3 more tds. Okay, so we have created, we have this cheese, so I'm gonna write cheese here, and then we have this chocolate, so I'm gonna write chocolate, and lastly we are gonna write $50. Okay, let me save it and let me go to my own table section, and here you can notice I have this particular structure. Like I have this another row, and in this particular row I have 1 cheese, chocolate, and $50, the same structure like this. Okay, now from this point onwards, for the row number 2 and row number 3, we are just gonna write 2 and $50 and then 3 and $100. We are gonna create only 2 cells inside that particular row. So I will create 1 TD with 2 and 1 TD for $50, and after that I will create another row, and inside that again I will write 3, and then I will write actually $100. Okay, let me save it and let me show you the structure, how it is gonna render here. So this is the structure, this is the way table is gonna represent this data. It is bit messy, it is not comparable to this table, but go on. Actually, when you will use row call span and row span, it will be gonna okay. So move toward the last row of this particular table. We have a grand total content, and then we have a $200 content. Okay, and it is bolder content, so at very last row we have to create two header tag, and inside those 2 header tags, first we will pass grand total, and after that we will pass $200. Okay, so this is the structure. Now we have created this table structure. and we passed every required data that we have to pass here. And now we to give it the same style as this table, we have to use some row span and col span value. So notice this serial number cell is taking only one column width, but this item number cell is taking two column width. It is spannable for cheese and chocolate both. Okay, so go for it. Choose the item number header which is written here, and now use the col span value, col span, and how many column it is spanning? It is spanning two column, one column itself and one column for its next, right next. Okay, so I am gonna give the 2 as a col span value here. Okay, and if I save it, you will notice this structure is now actually the same as this structure. Okay, it is looking good now. Yeah, it is looking good. Okay, so now what we are gonna do next, you actually you may have noticed that this cheese is spanning 1, 2 and 3 row, same as this chocolate. So we are gonna deal with that. Go for the cheese and give this cheese TD the row span value, and how many rows? 3 rows. Same for the chocolate as well, row span value and 3 row. Let me save it. You now can look that this thing is properly working. It is now looking same as this structure. Okay, lastly we are gonna control this grand total and $200 row. I mean, we are gonna control this last row. Okay, now if you notice in this section, this grand total cell is covering one column, two column and three column. Okay, so go for the grand total section and give it a col span value because it is covering column, and you have to use 3 again. And here, look, this table, this invoice table that you created just now, and this problem table is now looking the same. These two tables have now same structure, and it was quite simple. It was not pretty complex as you may have thought earlier. Okay, so here is only single suggestion. If you are gonna create a table structure, if someone asks you to create a table structure, or if there is any structure inside your mind, you are not gonna just jump to the core structure part directly. First you have to point out how many maximum rows and how many maximum columns are there, and once you do that, after that you can actually use the row span and column span values to create to give it a shape as you thought or as you given. Okay, so this is for this is all for this lecture. It was a practice lecture only, and from the next lecture we will deep dive into more newer content, or we will deep dive into more newer tag in the HTML. Keep coding, keep smiling, and keep practicing. This is all. See you in the next lecture.